A long time ago, my mother told me never to talk to strangers. So I need to know who you guys are. Because I'm going to read the room, and I am going to tell you how to feel tonight.
That's right.
All right? So I'm not going to talk at you. I'm going to have a conversation with you. So straddle up, and we're going to talk about a couple of things, including black men in medicine. So, I heard somebody clapping for MAPS. Where my MAPS folks at?
All right, now, Matt.
I want to tell you a story about that. The medical students, who's here a member of SNMA?
Hey!
Yeah, very good. I'm going to talk about that too as well. So much to talk about. NMA members in the house? All right. I am able, my God. Let me just interrupt everything. First and foremost, can we give a round? Get on your feet for this woman.
Yes.
Good Lord, this woman is church. Every single time. You never want to get something You know, there's a lot of organizations about which you should know. I mean, we have, anybody here heard of the Institute of Medicine?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Really? Good for you all. Everybody here should be involved in it because Institute of Medicine actually is something that you do on the professional side once you cross over. And we all need to be involved. And part of what this conversation is going to do this evening is to talk about the multiple facets that are involved in getting us to where it is we need to be. So as these things go, this isn't the conversation you thought you were going to get. All right? Because I'm actually just going to talk to you. This conversation has been in vogue since about 1978. That's how long folks have been talking about the paucity of black men and blacks in general in medicine. All right? So, at the beginning of the conversation, let me tell you, every possible solution has already been offered. Everything that you could possibly think of has already been suggested. But life is an implementation project. All you have to do is stand by any cooler anywhere in America and you'll find somebody that already has the answers to everything you could possibly want to know, right? But the issue here is how do you implement those strategies? And that's what I've been doing for my adult life, finding ways to implement strategies. Out of all the things that I've done, if you probably ask me first what I do outside of family considerations, is to be an implementationalist. I'm the guy you call when you want to get something done. And I'm pretty straight, no chaser too, so I only get called if you want to really get something done because I'm going to tell you exactly what it is you want to hear and not necessarily what makes you feel good. So in this conversation, let me begin by telling you guys I'm actually intrigued by why we're here. And the reason why I'm intrigued is because there's a bunch of things that we could talk about. So let's figure out what we're trying to do. And these things aren't mutually exclusive. But are we here to acknowledge the existence of black men in medicine? Are we trying to celebrate our accomplishments? Or are we really trying to put out a call to action?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
All of the above, right? But, you know, what I'm to tell you that the relevance of black men in medicine is much more than you probably think. And one of the reasons why we haven't solved this issue is that we've been a bit parochial in this. So let me just jump around a little bit and tell you a couple of things because I've been in this game in earnest for several decades now. And for my mappers out there, you guys will actually note, if you've paid close attention, that when John Bradley and Reggie Jones, anybody recognize those names? Champs?
Yep.
Yeah, I came up through there as well. When we were sitting in the hallway of IIT back when I was president of One Step Before, the Black Student Union at Northwestern, trying to figure out what we were going to call this thing, you know, one of the debates was, okay, is MAPS going to be pre-medical or is it going to be pre-health? And I was pretty emphatic that the conversation was not going to be pre-medical because we need to be everywhere, okay? Anybody here know how many black-owned hospitals there are in the United States?
Zero.
The answer is 0. I'll tell you that story another time, but there used to be about 500. Okay? Now, I want everybody around this table, because this is kind of a spoiler alert. I want you to look around right now. Look at the clothes on your back. Look at the food that you're eating. Look at the silverware that you have. Look at the chairs, look at the carpet, look at the walls, look at the paint. Can you find anything in this room that is owned by black folks? Y'all don't hear me?
Hello.
Black men in medicine. This isn't just about taking care of patients. This is about our role in society. This is about how we uplift the race, how we uplift America. Okay? So, we already talked about some of the data. That doesn't surprise anybody. there are actually, excuse me, let me say it this way. The numbers are the same as they've been since 1978.
That's right. Wow.
5% of physicians in America are black, half of which are actually, this whole black woman thing, black woman, black men thing is something I'm gonna get into in a second. But if we'd had this conversation a generation or two ago, 2/3 would have been men. And now the pendulum has swung to where 2/3 of us are women. But what does that mean? We're actually gonna talk about that because that's less of a distinction with a difference than you might think, because at the end of the day, the issue when it comes to taking care of patients is a black issue. But there's some nuance in this, and I wanna get to that in just a moment. And yes, that number has been dropping in the face of increased college graduates who are black or African American. So more people who are leaving and graduating college, but still less applicants and less people entering into medical school. And why is that? We can come up with a whole lot of reasons, some of which sound like victimization, some of them that sound like the real deal here. But the one question that we never tend to ask and answer is, how attractive is medicine to a black man? Culturally. I graduated from medical school when I was 27. I finished my residency when I was 31. That's a whole lot of delayed gratification.
Yes.
Is this culture built for that? There's a whole lot of live fast, die young going on, but there's also a whole lot of, I need to take care of my family right now. I need to get going on what it is I need to do with my life. So part of what I really want you to think about is from a cultural standpoint. All the initiatives that are occurring in this country need to be more culturally sensitive in terms of appealing to the pool. Now, this is what I mentor hundreds, literally, hundreds of students. Just one of the last calls I took before I came in here was from a young man. Part of what I want you guys to think about is, at the end of the day, the reason why I wanted to get into medicine was to save the world. Anybody interested in saving the world? I'm gonna tell you guys a story, because this is how this stuff works. My mother, God rest her heavenly soul, managed to have me. I was born on January 15th. Anybody know what that day is?
King's birthday.
That's right, Dr. King's birthday. My father got shot on the mean streets of Chicago when I was 6. So I had a couple of brothers and an older sister, but she actually decided to make Dr. King my role model. And wouldn't you know, this woman didn't tell me that he was not a physician until I was about 12. And of course, a true story actually. And by then I had actually found a way to fall in love with medicine all by itself. But back then, in my generation, in that time, everybody wanted to do something. You really, if you aspired to do anything, the choices were pretty much, you wanted to be a doctor, wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to be a policeman, wanted to be a teacher.
That's right.
We didn't think as broadly as you guys are able to think now. So if you really wanted to save the world, you tried to save the world, and the best way to do that was by being a physician. But lo and behold, in my own personal journey, I've learned a few things about medicine. I've been a physician now all over, I've treated people all over the world. I've actually worked in 40 different states. I've run several dozen emergency departments. I've been chair of level 1 trauma, so pretty much done everything there is to do in emergency medicine, and I love it. I was actually born in Cook County, much less did my emergency medicine residency over there. Well, if you think ghosts aren't real, I have some stories to tell you about Cook County, but that's a different conversation. But here we go. As I was a physician, doing what I could, even though I had a tremendous impact in different parts of the country, something was missing. As luck would have it, I also have a master's in public health, where my concentrations were in health policy and in management. So one of the things that I discovered is that, wow, public health professionals actually get to take care of communities instead of people one at a time. It's kind of hard to save the world one person at a time, right? Community sounded like a better way to go. And thus I started moving around the country, doing things. I started a consultancy back right about 2000. And it's a funny story about that, which I'll share with you, because there's a lot of things about my individual experience that I want the younger people in the audience to know, because this will be you. You're going to grow into this as you get to a certain point in life. So, I'm chairman of the board of the Level 1 Trauma Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're trying to fit, by the way, I was 35 at the time, and I remember a lot of the other department chairs used to tell me, nobody's going to pay attention to you until you turn 30, or until you turn 40 and get some gray on your chin. I was full of myself, young and full of piss and vinegar at that time, so I would argue a lot. But those are back in the days where I was more interested in being right than in getting it right, so I bumped my head a few times, but as things go, I actually was right a few times. And the last time I was actually right is that they asked me to chair this multidisciplinary committee in the hospital to deal with throughput throughout the hospital. And I came up with 11 recommendations. Okay? They didn't want to follow my recommendations, so they hired an outside consultancy to come in. They had 12 recommendations. My 11 plus wash the windows. I'm actually not lying to you guys. I'm not joking. They paid these guys $250,000 for 2 weeks of work. I set my shingle up about a month later. And I've been doing work all around the world, and it pays very well. Now, by the way, what does MAP stand for? Minority Association of Pre-Health Students. We need some of you to become hospital administrators. We need some of you to own hospitals. We need some of you to be healthcare financiers, okay? We need some of you to be public health professionals, scientists, nurses, all of that. We are underrepresented here, there, and everywhere, and it actually matters because I'm going to talk in a little bit about patient outcomes. But the journey continues. You would be surprised to know, I think actually it was mentioned, I participated in the largest universal healthcare program that ever occurred on the planet Earth over in Indonesia. 170,000 people, 170 million people, 17,000 islands. Imagine trying to put together a program for that. It was actually a lot of fun. Done telehealth in Tokyo. I actually have offices in South Africa as we speak. The point of bringing that up to you is get out of here as quickly as you can. You can live here, you can come back here, but you will see the world completely different when your purview, your perspective is formed by your purview, and you will learn. I never felt more American than when I left America.
Yeah.
Because we all have that conscious thing where we walk in a room and we expect to be oppressed and all the rest of that. And I can tell you, I went to a meeting, and this is Tokyo actually, where I'm sitting there and the pendulum is kind of swinging. At the beginning of the conversation, I'm just kind of talking, and then you realize they're looking at me like I'm a real subject matter expertise. And in that moment, I realized the American brand of expertise is a real thing, and we embody that. See, one of the things that we used to talk about when we were young is that, gotta be twice as good to get half as far. But if you do it right, at some point in time, you actually end up twice as good. And as these things go, you should not spend your time where you're tolerated. You should spend it where you're trusted and treasured.
Yes.
And there's a big old world out there. So I left Chicago for a long period of time, and I came back. What's the saying? A king's never recognized
In their own home.
until after his death or until he has enough money.
That's another one.
So let me just continue with this, because all of this is going to come full circle for you guys, and I want you to really appreciate the impact that you can have. I was a physician, then I was a public health professional, and then I realized, well, okay, I'm still playing whack-a-mole. I'm still making a difference, but the data is still the same. And then I realized, it's like, oh my God, there's a higher level out there, there's a different tier, and it's money. And one of the things about medicine, let me start with this part. One of the things about physicians is that we aren't the brightest crayons in the box, folks. And before the 70s, physicians owned the entirety of the healthcare system in this country.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. Today, America spends about 4.5 to 4.8 trillion with a T dollars on healthcare. It is the largest sector of the U.S. economy, 21% of the gross domestic product. And over the decades, when we decided that we would rather spend our time at home and have some administrators do things for us, we have become employees.
Yeah.
We no longer control our practices. We're subject to oversight by people that know nothing about medicine. They know customer satisfaction. They know how to make money. By the way, all of these managed care organizations, you may know them as insurance companies, have the largest buildings in the country. They're all on the Fortune 500 list. And meanwhile, what do? We're physicians, we're taking care of patients, we're doing the very best we can. What a scam this is, folks.
Yes.
What a scam this is. Because doctors are do-gooders. We're the last indentured servants out there.
Come on.
We will always do the right thing for our patients, and we don't care about the administrative part. Meanwhile, the people that are pulling the puppet strings are making billions and billions of dollars. You guys heard me say that the United States spends $4.8 trillion a year on healthcare in this country? You know how many black billionaires there are in healthcare? Yes, you do. 0. y'all better start focusing on the right things. So, that's right. You guys still with me?
Yeah.
All right. You guys know who Bill Gates is?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you think about when you think of Bill Gates? Much money, much money. This man's foundation does $70 billion. This man has given away $40 billion, he and his wife. This man literally reversed the tide. See, you guys are too young. You all don't know. AIDS was killing everybody back in the day. AIDS is still the #1 cause of death in many, many, many African nations. But it was even worse than you could possibly imagine it to be. As bad as it still is, it was much worse. Bill Gates wrote a check. That's where I'm going with this. Bill Gates wrote a check and reversed the tide of AIDS on the African continent. Powerful stuff. So you can be a physician, you can be a public health professional, but until and unless we get financial in this piece,
Yes.
we are not going to be able to control the agenda. We're not going to be able to eradicate the healthcare disparities that exist. So once again, many of you have heard about social determinants of health, right? These are the things that don't directly involve disease that actually impact the way in which we live our lives. I'm here to tell you that so much is in place to get us to where it is we need to be. And I'm gonna tell you guys, those 200 people that I've mentored, that I'm currently mentoring, etc., I have never met a physician. Well, let me put it, I've never met a medical student who wanted to go to medical school and did not get accepted. Y'all don't hear me.
Come on.
No, I heard you.
Unless they close the door in front of their own face.
Come on.
Y'all know what that means?
Yes.
It's not when you do it, it's that you do it.
That's right.
Get in, don't stop. I've had people become bankers, I've had people become nurse practitioners and other things. They decided they didn't want to fight. They were too embarrassed, they were too prideful. I deal with some of the dumbest colleagues imaginable.
That's right.
When I was at Northwestern, I was running the organization called One Step Before. And it was the pre-medical student organization, the Black pre-medical student organization. You know, it was mentioned that those pre-med advisors at the college, and well, again, I'm going to speak polite. They gave me some misinformation. And they told me that I would never become a physician.
Come on now.
I should consider underwater basket weaving or something like that, okay? So I didn't trust them. So I created an event called the Med School Day. And what was the Med School Day? I invited 50 different directors of admission from all over the country to come to Northwestern to give us the real deal. And guess who was the first person they saw was? Me as president of One Step Before. How many medical schools that I applied to do you think I got accepted to? All of them. Except Northwestern, which waitlisted me. It's always the ones that you know closest.
That's right.
So when I became a medical student, I was chairman of the board for the Student National Medical Association. You guys didn't know that, we didn't mention that. In fact, I'm the only 3-term chairman of the board of SMA. In 2 of my books, I actually, for the 60th anniversary, wrote the history of the SMA and did a book called Healthcare Heroes. Sweetie certainly will be in the updated version. My God, you're wonderful. So, I bring that up because when I was chairman of the board of SMA, I wanted to take the experience that I had in One Step Before and give you guys the real deal. So I actually went to the Department of Health and Human Services and started a grant called So You Want to Be a Doctor, which is still in publication. And it was an extension of that same consideration where you would get all the information that you need to understand what it's like to be a physician, to where you could actually have accurate information, to where you could have directories of the directors of admissions for the medical school, because it's not who you know necessarily, it's who knows you. And when you get that exposure, that becomes important. So what have I told you guys so far? I've told you that you can do this. And I've told you that you have a responsibility once you do this to do more than just this. Because none of that changes everything. Because here's the point. There are 2 points, and now I'm going to move into talking just a touch about Black men in medicine. Why is this whole conversation about Black men in medicine important? It's because we are dying. If you follow public health data the way that I do, then you know that more than half of the top 10 causes of death are overrepresented in blacks. Hard stop. Did you know, I'm gonna play with you guys because you guys have been so good at answering these questions. Who would you think just so happens to have, which demographic would you think has the worst life expectancy in the United States?
Black professionals.
Say it louder.
Black male professionals.
That's a pretty interesting response. That's some nuance to that. We're gonna talk later. Black men save the natives. There's some real issues with that. That's a different conversation. But black males. So the public health data actually suggests that we have better outcomes, better healthcare outcomes when the healthcare that we receive is delivered in a way that is culturally sensitive and culturally specific. Now, those big fancy words, right? I just said FUBU. So, there's obvious data. If you guys have paid any attention at all to the infant mortality data, to the maternal mortality data, to the way in which patients who have pain are treated, there are worse healthcare outcomes if you have, white ain't right always. Not saying that it's always wrong either, but white ain't right in this example. We get better treated when we are represented by those who understand us culturally, who come from where we came, who understands the nuance of what it is we're doing. Now, see, frankly, I think that for this part of the conversation, it really doesn't matter that much because, urology is not the same field as obstetrics and gynecology. So I don't care if you're a black woman or a black man. It's just wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to have you. You can take great care of me. So even though the pendulum is swung from black men to black women, that's in terms of the representation of us in the medicine field, the point of the matter is that I'm more concerned with the fact that still, meager percentage points, 3%, are still us. Now, let's talk about some things that I care about because I'm an implementationalist, right? And at the end of the day here, the issue is what can we do about this? Let me tell you what has held us up, what works, what we know doesn't work, and where we're going. Efforts like this are more important than you can possibly imagine. And one of the reasons why I've loved this program, and I've never really had this conversation, but if I could give any one piece of advice to this organization, it would be go national as quickly as you can. This type of effort should be occurring here, there, everywhere. Because the bottom line is that I told you before that every single aspirant here can become a physician.
Yes.
But the path to making that happen is hand-to-hand combat.
That's right.
You need mentors. You need people that are sitting on top of you, that are showing you the way, that are helping you find the way, and convincing you when times get bleak to do what you do. There are plenty of us graduating from college. There's an increase in the applicants. What's happening? Where's the void?
Yeah.
It's actually pretty logical what's going on here. We need that stick-to-itness. We need to see us to be us.
That's right.
Okay? And we need to go back. There are pipeline places all over the place. There's no shortage of pipeline places. MAPS is on 300 college campuses, folks. NMA has been there since 1895. DEI offices are all over the place. This question has been asked and answered since 1978, as I mentioned. In 2015, AAMC came out with Altering the Course, Black Males in Medicine. There's all kinds of stuff. There's pipeline programs that go all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade now. They're not increasing the numbers. We're treading water. But what we haven't been doing is addressing the social determinants of wanting to go to medical school. Ladies, college ladies, have boyfriends?
Right.
And that's a different conversation. But whoever you're spending your time with, make us feel good about wanting to save the world again.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
That's right.
You know what else is not cool? The fact that doctors get paid about an hour's worth of work as musicians
That's right.
and athletes. So our values are skewed. And I don't mean just the financial part of that, but the stature that our community assigns to doctors and to teachers and to nurses has become misplaced. We have to reclaim our community as a community that treasures health. You know, one of my current companies, Simcoe, the acronym includes Managed Preventive Care Organization. We want to have conversations about transforming health. We want to have conversations about taking our community from a community in which there are healthcare disparities where our life expectancies are less than our counterparts. And by the way, white women also have a greater life expectancy than black women. Everybody has a greater life expectancy than black men. But imagine, if you will, if we moved away from the things that fail us, and I'm going to throw two of those out to you right now. There's no such thing as big boned. Okay? We are stuck, and we have reclaimed, we have acculturated what I call an evolved post-slavery diet, where we season the food beyond recognition just so that it was palatable. That's what happened back in the days in which our people were enslaved, when we were eating, being given things to eat that we had no business trying to eat. And if you're still eating chitlins and oxtails and pig's feet, I need to have a conversation with you later. Okay? So we have to overcome that. We have to overcome our dietary habits and our body habits that make us cherish and treasure things that we had very good reasons for embracing back in the day, because it was about survival. But today, it hurts us, it holds us back. So all of this is meant to say, let's be a community that embraces health. An ounce of prevention is always better than a pound of cure, but it's going to take us engaged in hand-to-hand combat. You have to engage in hand-to-hand combat with your family. Diabetes doesn't run in families as much as there's a common cook at the table that's feeding everybody foods that makes everybody at home diabetic. Okay? We have to do better. And in order to do better, we have to know better. Health self-empowerment is a thing. So, you know, the final point I want to make is, let's get back to black men in medicine. The real value to me in this conversation, black men in medicine, is that it's about black men leading, reclaiming our roles in society. Because black men in medicine is a very tried and true, conservative, steady way to provide for your family. But we don't want that anymore, right? We don't treasure that. We don't give a claim to the father that works 9 to 5, comes home, takes care of his kids and his family. We don't glamorize that to the same extent to which we like them, but I'm just making a point here. You know, we like the Drake and Kendrick beef.
Come on.
We want to know what Diddy's, well, anyway.
Come on. Right.
I don't know whether I should have said what Diddy's doing or who's Diddy doing, but that's what we're going. Guys, if you remember anything from this conversation, I want you to remember every single one of you is I am able. Every single one of you has the ability to stand on this stage a generation from now and be her or to be me. Trust me when I tell you, I was not special. I'd be embarrassed to tell you what I graduated from Northwestern with. And go figure, I graduated from Northwestern with a 2.7 GPA. Then I went to Harvard, got a 3.7 GPA. What's that about? See, the great inflation on Northwestern was lying. That's one of the things that's true. But you know, all I want to tell you is that the special sauce in my life was that I actually cared. My mom told me go be Dr. King, and of course that's not possible, but to approximate something that matters, to do something that gives back while you reach forward, that's who we are. You know, don't let capitalism get to you to such an extent to where you forget that we come from a people, and I spent a lot of time on the continent. Don't forget that we are people that take care of each other. You gotta get back to that. And my work, your work, is all about building a better tomorrow, but you are the messenger. And I've spent my life trying to be the message. Who's gonna pick up that ball? Black men, take care of your families. Don't let these sisters out there talking about I can't find a man. There's plenty of men out here. Tell the brother stop dancing with each other and get back to dancing with each other. Don't get me started. I'm showing my age now. Some of this stuff doesn't make sense and never will make sense. But look, final point. When we do these things, we can be smart about the decisions we make. So you want to be a doctor. Let me tell you what you need to do to be a doctor. Stop throwing out a wide net. You're wasting your money. There was a time ago, not long ago, where Howard and Meharry, it produced more physicians than every other medical school combined. Apply there. University of Illinois used to be on the top, literally next on that list, even more than the other HBCUs. But some of that data's changed, and I want to say, just think about this. You should know what the top 5 medical schools are in terms of percentage of admitting black folks. It sounds like a pretty smart way to start. If I'm going to apply to medical school, who am I going to apply to? Well, Howard's at the top of the list. They still have a 70% black admission rate, okay? Other schools you might not believe. Number 2 is actually Emory. And it does kind of make sense, Atlanta, okay? You know who's number 3? It's somebody here. Which one? It's not U of I. Used to be. It sure is not Loyola. University of Chicago.
Yeah, they're killing it.
They're killing it.
They are killing it.
Apply there, you get the home state advantage. Then there's East Carolina and Wright State. Now, if you actually want to do more than that, you know, that I gave you 5 right there. Apply there, then apply to the HBCUs. But capacity, who's looking for black folks? I got a newsflash for you. There are 2 more HBCUs that are about to open. See, here's the deal. There are 107 HBCU undergraduate schools, but there are only 4 of them that have medical schools. And thankfully that number is about to increase by 2, including, say it, Xavier. And anybody know the other one? It's the Maryland College of Osteopathic Medicine at Morgan State. So, you know, the way I look at it is that if I'm going to write a big check to somebody, I'm going to write it to one of these HBCUs so that they can open up more HBCU medical schools, and that will take care of a lot of this challenge by itself, because they're the ones that are most likely to take you. All right? So just remember that when you get to the other side, and I'm assuming everybody here is going to get to the other side, don't be that dude. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about our community. Because we are suffering, folks. The data, I wish I had time to have that conversation with you, but we are literally out here in these streets dying. And we are not waiting for anybody's Messiah. We are the solution for what ails us. And if you don't understand that, and if you don't take that seriously, we're gonna keep getting what we've been getting. And the one thing that we haven't done in earnest since this conversation's been having in 1978 is that we haven't directed our energies toward building the case. You can put STEM programs in all day long, but make me want to be a doctor. Tell me that, hey, my mama wanted me to always date a doctor. I heard that a lot in my lifetime. Let the young brothers hear. You'd have more game if you're a doctor. Try that one, it might actually work. So I mean, I'm very serious about that. We have to treasure health. And you know, never trust a fat doctor or a skinny chef, as they say, but the bottom line is that give people the incentive to want to take care of something. Don't try to just be right all the time. Try to get it right. And when it comes to our community, getting it right means uplifting us. Medicine works. I got into it, you know, I played baseball in college. I had to quit after a year because I wasn't going to take the chance because I had no fallback. It's a hell of a way for us to undergird what has ailed us in our communities. Without economics, without that financial base, we'll never get to the point to where we can actually have a sterling foundation, right? That's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to write checks.
Amen.
And create the agendas for what ails us, control our own healthcare agendas. That's what I've been working for. That's why I became a healthcare entrepreneur. That's why I do work all over the world. And yes, I lost a whole lot of money in the USAID cuts that this country engaged in, but that's a different conversation. Guys, you've got this. We've got this. You have to believe that. In the places in which I've been, and I am able, such a great example of this is where I wish that you would get with NMA or some other foundation and just take this thing nationally, because in the examples, I know you are. I'm putting it out in the universe here at your event. I just want you guys to appreciate that in the small spaces in which these approaches have been taken, success has followed. This is not brain surgery. I've done brain surgery, this ain't it. Hand-to-hand combat, one at a time. Let me get a show of hands again of the people here that plan on being physicians.
All right.
Every single one of you. Every single one of you, don't stop till you get in. Trust me on this one. There's too many bad applicants out there. These people are self-selecting themselves out.
That's
You are
right.
not that bad.
Mm.
You being at this table tonight tells me everything that I need to know about your commitment to this. And with the leadership and the guidance and the mentorship of the people around here, you've got this. So do this and be this. Whether you're a black woman in medicine or a black man in medicine, brothers, take care of your community, take care of your family. It's who we were meant to be. We are not the descendants of the enslaved. We are the descendants of kings. Make it
Come
happen.
on now.
Thank you.
Yeah.